Welcome to another episode of One on One with Mitch Lafon. And joining me this week, a man whose credits include working with the Beatles and on Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. It is none other than Alan Parsons. He also had, of course, the Alan Parsons Project. He is back with a new release live in Colombia as the Alan Parsons Symphonic Project. Great album, certainly worth checking out. But without further ado, let's get right into the interview because Alan had a lot to say. Here is the one, the only, Alan Parsons. We are speaking with Alan Parsons. The new album is the Alan Parsons Symphonic Project live in Colombia. Good day, Alan. Pleasure to speak with you.
Hey, Mitch. How are you?
Good. I'm doing well. And, I've got to say, and I'm sure you've heard this before, but interviewing you is a great thrill. And there's just so much to cover from your engineering to the recording to the Alan Parsons Project to... So let's just start with the album. I think that's the safest place. Tell me about the concept and about taking your songs and then sort of repurposing them in a symphony or using the symphony behind you. And how was that experience?
It was absolutely wonderful. I mean, we've done a few symphonic shows, with orchestra over the years. Sometimes a small orchestra, but this one is a big orchestra. It's a 70 piece, and it was in Medellin, Colombia, and we actually did a live broadcast of the show in Colombia, but we got the rights to release it everywhere else once it had been broadcast in Colombia a couple of times. So we've been post-producing, re-editing, remixing, all the stuff that goes on to music videos these days. But it came out really well. I'm really pleased with it. And it gets released in the US, I believe, June 24th. It's already out in Europe. In fact, it was released in Europe today. So but you've got a short wait before you'll be able to buy it in the US.
Right, and I have a copy in front of me. In fact, I was listening to it in the car all morning just to make sure that I was fully prepared, and it sounds great. Since you had, it was recorded in 2013, so we've had 3 years. You're an engineer and a producer. Do you sit with those tapes and start second-guessing the performance and start saying, oh, I got to fix this, oh, I got to speed this up, oh, I got to make this better, or can you let go?
We did a little bit of post-production. I mean, I think everybody does. There's bound to be a glitch or a click or a flat note here and there, But we did some work on it, but not at the expense of destroying the performance. I think it still feels really good.
And it sounds great. You're doing a few shows this summer. Is it going to be a symphonic presentation, or is it just going to be the Alan Parsons Live Project?
It'll be the Alan Parsons Live Project in general. We've got I think one or two symphonic shows lined up. We've got a symphonic show in Mexico lined up, I think, quite soon. But the great thing about this new album is that it was recorded in high-def video as well as on audio, so it's going to be released as a Blu-ray and DVD with a surround mix. So if you've got a home theater with a surround system, you can hear it in surround in all its glory. As well as see pictures, of course.
Yeah, which is great. Is there at some point where you're going to start releasing more Alan Parsons live projects, or is this sort of this is it for the next few years? And
I think this is it. I mean, this is the definitive show. I mean, a 70-piece orchestra, high def, 12 cameras. It's really quite a involved production, and I can't see there being another one for a few years, right? I mean, We worked very hard to bring this to fruition. I think this is it for now.
Yeah, and I have to say, I haven't seen the visual part of it yet because I only have the CD, but it is an experience in the car. And if any music passes the car test, it's a winner. It's a winner.
That's great.
It really is. And let me talk to you a little bit about your past. And I don't want to go to Dark Side of the Moon and that stuff yet. I want to talk to you about engineering.
Not yet, you say. Oh,
not yet. Well, yeah, it depends. If we run out
Everybody else does. Everybody else does. Why shouldn't you?
No, I know. Well, because I try to be a little different, but I'm interested because, you started off in the days, Abbey Road with George Martin, analog recording. As we moved through the 80s and 90s, we moved into digital recording. For you, is that still a pure form? Is it the same thing? Can we get the same sounds, or was it frustrating as technology advanced for you?
Some people sort of poo-poo digital recording and say, and stick to their analog guns and say analog is the only way to record and the only way to listen at home and everything. But, and the resurgence of vinyl is a sort of testament to that. But I'm a supporter of digital technology. I mean, I've supported it ever since the early days of CD, and I recognize that every day it improves. Every day we have new systems, new converters which make digital audio sound more and more like analog and more transparent, with every passing moment. So I think there's a very strong future in digital recording. I do, really.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I like digital recording. What I don't like is MP3s because it's highly compressed. Do you think we've lost something in the art by having created MP3s where music has become...
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, MP3 is the worst thing to happen to the industry in years. The trouble is the consumer always makes the wrong decision. We thought the compact cassette was the way to go, but that was a horrible format. We've now got MP3 as the main format, which is another big mistake. We've got satellite radio, which is a big mistake. The only real hi-fi is high-resolution audio, which you can find on the internet. Which is there's various companies offering high-resolution audio. And the stuff that's available on Blu-ray and DVD. I mean, that's all high quality and high def, and the way to go. But MP3 needs to go away very, very quickly.
Yeah, I would love to see the death of that. But I mean, historically, that's what we've always gone to, is the cheaper format, right? I mean, we had Betamax back in the day, which was a great video standard, and everybody went with VHS, and I think we did the same thing.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Another wrong choice. Another wrong choice by the consumer. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because people, I guess they force it down your throat or whatever. You mentioned satellite radio, so let me talk to you about that song of yours, Sirius, which was on Eye in the Sky. A little instrumental, under 2 minutes. Did you consider it essential to the album or a throwaway? And it sort of leads to, because it's become this larger than life thing with basketball teams and football teams and wrestlers, and did you really expect that to be sort of this big thing?
Absolutely not. No, it was just a piece of music. It was the intro to the Eye in the Sky song and the Eye in the Sky album. It was just a little instrumental snippet. I had no idea it would become the sports anthem that it has. But having said that, I'm delighted. I mean, it's arguably the most known piece of music in our whole catalog. Mind you, nobody knows it's the Alan Parsons Project. They just say, "Oh, it's the Bulls theme,"
Right. It's a Chicago's Bulls. Well, it's funny because as I was listening to the album today in the car with my wife, she said, "Oh, that's the Chicago Bulls theme," and I went, "Oh God!"
Yeah, right.
I went, "Oh God, no, don't do that."
That's the way of the world. That's the way it is.
I was like, "Don't do that to me." All right, so let's go back to the early days. You're working at 18 or 19 years old in Abbey Road Studio. How did you get that gig? I mean, you're 18. You're fresh off the. How does George Martin and the rest of the people there say, "Yeah, okay, come on in. You can be an engineer on an album"? Sure, why not?
Well, I wasn't an engineer back then. I was very much a trainee assistant engineer, and I did have. I mean, the reason I got the job at Abbey Road in the first place was that I was working in a department of EMI in West London that was closely associated with Abbey Road. It was called Tape Records, and it was manufacturing on quarter-inch reel-to-reel tapes. This is just before cassettes happened. We were manufacturing reel-to-reel on those little 3-inch plastic spools of albums, in mono, but they sounded great, I have to say. But we were affiliated with Abbey Road, and I just wrote to the manager at Abbey Road, I think it was in 1968, and said, "Here I am, I'm working in Tape Records, can I come and work at Abbey Road?" And they gave me an interview, and then 2 weeks later I was working there. And before even 3 months was up, I got assigned to go down to Apple and work with the Beatles. It was just the most extraordinary set of circumstances, and just the most incredible experience to be with the Fab Four, working on their last 2 albums. It was just amazing.
It really was, and so.
And they paid me.
Yeah,
they paid me for the privilege of a lifetime.
Yeah, and
not a lot, but they did pay me.
Just enough to keep you happy. So here you are. You've got those last 2 Beatles albums, the Paul McCartney album, the Hollies, Pink Floyd. You're establishing your career as a producer, engineer, and all that wonderful stuff. Why in 1976 do you take that leap of faith and say, let's start a band, let's put songs together, because at some point, if the band fails or something, wouldn't that have hurt the reputation? People go, "Oh, don't go with him. He's with that project that was, why step out of the shadows?"
I think it was a commercial decision. I mean, artists make a lot more money than producers and certainly more than engineers. So I think Eric Woolfson, the late Eric Woolfson, and I said, let's be in complete control of an album and take on the necessary musicians, the necessary arrangers, all the necessary elements to make a great concept album. And I think Eric took the view on our first album, a very, very sort of commercial viewpoint that no movie based on an Edgar Allan Poe story had ever lost money. So he thought that that could be applied to the record industry. So we made an album based on Edgar Allan Poe's work.
Yeah,
it wasn't really forming a band. It was just an extension of being a producer, but with greater control and also obviously contributing to the songwriting as well.
Was it intended to be sort of one and done, or did you always think, okay, we'll do a second one and a third one? I mean, was there a long-term plan, or was it like, let's just go do this for fun, and then let's see what happens? I
think it was very much a one-off plan to start with. In fact, we signed a one-album deal, and it wasn't, at that time, it wasn't called the Alan Parsons Project. It was just called, the Edgar Allan Poe album. And it only became the Alan Parsons Project by sort of hearsay amongst the offices of 20th Century in Hollywood. They say, they would say, "How's the Alan Parsons Project coming?" "Oh, it's coming great." I had no idea at that time that it would become the identity of the artist. I thought I was going to be a line of small print produced by Alan Parsons, But that all changed, and when we re-signed when we signed a long-term deal with Clive Davis for the second album onwards, then the name stuck. It remained the Alan Parsons Project.
Yeah, and of course, a great name it was. After the 10th album, Eric decides, or in fact, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, how did it sort of dissipate? I mean, because it wasn't really a breakup. It was just sort of like, okay, we're done here. Is that about right?
There were some circumstances which didn't help. I mean, the entire Alan Parsons Project catalog was between 76 and 87. After that, we did an album called Freudiana, which which started life as a project, as an Alan Parsons project, but the entrepreneurial guy who'd worked with Andrew Lloyd Webber, amongst others, said this should be a musical, and we doubled up all the music, and it became more Eric's baby than mine. Although I was, it was all the same people, and I produced it and everything else. It became Eric's baby. But the sad thing is, it ended up as a horrible court battle between this producer guy, Brian Brolly, and Eric. And basically, we had 2.5 years of complete inactivity, and I just said, I've got to get on with my career, and that's when I decided to make an album under my own steam and form a band, and then go out and start playing live.
Yeah, was the project done for you though? Did you ever look back and say, we should have done something in 1996? We should have done something in 2000. Was it?
Yeah, in a way, yes. In a way, no. I mean, I felt that. We had the final album, Gaudi, had not done as well as the previous ones, and we kind of probably said to ourselves, although I don't ever remember having this conversation with Eric, we probably said to ourselves, well, let's leave on a high rather than trying to resurrect everybody and make a new project.
It's interesting.
I was comfortable recording as Alan Parsons as opposed to the Alan Parsons Project, and I've made 3 albums or 4 albums. Is it now? I think it's 4 albums as Alan Parsons. So I didn't give up, although I haven't. Has to be said, I haven't put out a studio album for over 10 years now.
Well, yeah, and it's certainly due time. You mentioned Gaudi didn't do as well. Was financial success or chart success important to the band? Because Eye in the Sky actually was #1 in Canada for a while. Was that important? Because the music seemed more... how do I put this? It seemed more heartfelt, more inspired, more... It didn't seem like, hey, we're going to cash in and make a pop song, and because there's sort of a formula or an ingredient to our pops. Were you concerned about?
Yeah, but I mean, you have to recognize that. I mean, we were lucky in that we had an 11-year lifespan, and some artists don't even achieve even a 2-album success thing. If their first album is successful, their second album is often less successful, and then they disappear. We managed to remain on a high, a high appreciation level with fans for 9 albums, and that was quite an achievement.
It really is, because there are a lot of one and dones out there, a lot of one-hit wonders. We mentioned Eric. If I may, what did Eric mean to you professionally and personally? Because, I mean, this was a great part of your success. You were part of his success, and he was part of your success. What did he mean to you on a personal level, on a professional level? Oh,
we were good friends. I mean, we would often socialize as well as working together. Our families were good friends. We had kids the same age and stuff. So it was all very good. It just went a little sour in the Freudiana period because of this court battle and the fact that I didn't really feel comfortable in musical theatre circles. So whereas that was Eric's baby, that's what he wanted to do, and he continued to work in musical theatre after that. And I just stayed firmly entrenched in rock and roll and putting a band together. So we were although we were friends, we were sometimes diametrically opposite in what we wanted to achieve.
That certainly happens. A few years ago, you wrote a book, Art and Science of Sound Recording. The
book and a DVD.
And a DVD, right. The 10...
The book was a sort of accompaniment to the DVD series. So.
Right, 10 hours of video, I believe it was.
Sorry, I missed that, Mitch. Sorry.
Oh, so I said, I believe there was 10 hours of video, right?
Yeah, Yes, no one should sit through it in one sitting. There's a great deal of stuff there, and
it needs to be on.
It's essentially a sort of course in sound recording. You know, actually the book is more accessible, and you can sort of thumb through the book and take a look at what interests you, kind of thing. But the video is. I still have hopes that it will be broadcast on PBS as a series or something, or sometime in the future.
Or Netflix. I mean, everything is Netflix these days.
Or Netflix, or Amazon, whatever it is. Yeah.
Whatever it is. But let me ask, because I know we're running out of time. In summation, though, what is sort of the most important part of being a producer in terms of, is it directing the band? Is it listening to the band? What's the sort of the 20-word answer in terms of a good producer is what?
Is able to communicate with the artist and command his respect, and vice versa. That would be my answer. I mean, there's no point in being a producer if you and the artist can't see eye to eye and respect each other. So that's the most important thing. Communication skills are everything.
And I guess I'll finish on this. Do you think that every artist should have a producer? Because a lot of bands now get into self-producing, and I've always maintained that that's a mistake. You need a set of ears.
Yeah, everybody with a laptop becomes a producer, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a slightly sad state of affairs. And yes, I do feel that artists should have a producer. They need someone to bounce their ideas off, to be a fresh set of ears on songs and repertoire, and even on choosing who plays, who gets hired, who gets fired, all that kind of stuff. So I think it's vastly important that artists should look towards having a producer to make their records with.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. And there you go. So we've done 20 minutes.
And an engineer. There's a lot of bad sounding records out there right now.
Yes, absolutely. And so there we go. We've managed to do 20 minutes without talking about Dark Side of the Moon. So that's
well done.
There you go. I'm sure you've answered that enough.
It's the first, but it's almost a first.
Almost a first, yeah. But listen, it's a great album. The story of that album has been told over and over again. And what else can I say except thank you for being part of it, because it certainly is iconic, and it's changed the face of music, quite frankly. So,
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Kudos for that. Thank you, Alan. Absolute pleasure.
All right, my pleasure too. And
always a pleasure.
All right.
Bye-bye now.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.
And there you have it, folks, my interview with legendary producer, musician, and so much more. The one, the only, Alan Parsons. The new album is the Alan Parsons Symphonic Project, live in Colombia. Do check that out. And while you're checking stuff out, head over to Twitter and check me out at Mitch Lafon, MITCHLAFON, and on Facebook, one-on-one Mitch Lafon. Again, thank you for listening. Thank you to Alan Parsons and all the people that go and make this possible. There you have it, folks. Bye for now. Oh my.